Carrying on with the 2027 chat, we're going to jump into what I think is one of the most important foundational awarenesses you can have in relation to the coming cycle change. We talk about 2027 because that's the year that the cycle actually changes. That's the year that we move from the cross of planning into the cross of the sleeping phoenix. But when I talk about this, one of the first questions that I find in the comments or from the audience or from the class, one of the first questions is usually around when are we gonna feel it? How are we gonna feel like? How fast are we gonna feel it? And kind of no matter what they're actually asking is it something we feel like that? You know, does it just happen? Do things just, you know, when we say let them crumble, it's, you know, is it like 2027 makes an earthquake and everything that was an institution just, you know, drops? No. I think probably in like the most extreme fear-based die-hard way anybody could terribly think about this is that it would be influenced by like The Walking Dead, and 2027 would symbolize, you know, an apocalypse that comes with this like mutated thing that humans have to defend themselves against. And well, I haven't been to post-2027, but I'm pretty sure that's not how it goes. I'm not ever going to educate for 2027 from a fear-based way. I'm simply going to expose you to the information that I've been exposed to and do what you will with it. You know, at best, I want you to prepare, and I want you to prepare with awareness. And if you're here watching this video, you're already doing it. You know, one of the things that you can do is you can think about every single person that you know. Think about every single person that you know on the planet right now. They all carry the cross of planning frequency because this is the time that they were raised in. When it changes in 2027 and we bring in the frequency for the cross of the sleeping phoenix, we don't erase all of the cross of planning frequency that lives inside of the people who have been carrying it the whole time they've been on the planet. Now, as those people die off post 2027, that's when you really see the energy of the cross of planning leaving the planet. There's an interesting thing here where the actual incarnation cross, the global incarnation cross, is going to be roughly 412 years. But all of that energy isn't just contained to that 412 years, because you can have somebody be born 400 years into that cycle, carry that energy for the first 12 years of their life, be programmed with it, and then still go on to live 90 years. And when that person dies, they take that last frequency with them. They take that energy with them. So when the cross changes, I'm bringing 37 years of cross of planning energy with me. You know, my son is only 9. He's gonna have a lot less cross of planning in him. Most of his lifetime is going to be the cross of the sleeping phoenix. And he is a cross of the sleeping phoenix kid. That's his personal incarnation cross. Even still, he's going to carry some of the cross of planning frequency with him because this is the time he was born in. We can summarize this into the question of, when is the cross of planning really done? When does the energy of the cross of planning actually leave the planet? And it's not going to be until roughly 2120, 2130. You know, I can't predict the longest lifetime of the last person still born in the cross of planning. But, you know, people can live 90, 100, 110 years. I mean, that's quite extreme, but it's a possibility. So the idea, like, we'll be into 2127 and we can still have cross of planning energy. I think it's easier to understand how we're gonna see the change. Like, the change will be obvious and it will be clear and we will feel it. But when we're looking for the markers, when we're looking for things we can identify, in many ways it's actually gonna feel kind of like the difference between like Gen Z and the millennial, or the millennial and I think the baby boomer came before me, maybe. I don't even know. That's not the point. The point is, even like every 20 years, we feel these huge gaps in our ability to relate to the people that came before us. And it's gonna be that very, very, very amplified You know, we're not gonna have the first cross of the sleep, like true cross of the sleeping phoenix babies until after 2027. And when those babies are born, those babies will not have the cross of planning in them, but they will be raised by parents who are very cross of planning. And the difference between how those people interact and relate to the world, I think it's gonna be really uncomfortable. Like, it's one thing to relate to people 20 years older or 20 years younger, but people that are born in an entirely different cross from you, it's gonna be pretty hard to relate to them. The experiences, the motivation, like really, truly, the motivation is going to feel really different. The first fear-based question that people have when they hear about 2027 is, how bad is it gonna hurt? You know, no matter how they ask the question, what they're really asking is, how bad is it going to hurt? Most people are living from a place of trying to strategize a way to avoid pain, avoid survival concerns. But, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, that's pain. People are trying to avoid discomfort, avoid shock. We have human design in the timeline that we have it in. You know, Ra got the transmission in 1987. 1987 to 2027 is 40 years. 40 years is 10% roughly of an incarnation cross, a global incarnation cross. When something is born, there's an intense energy. Think about a star. When a star is born, there's a very intense energy, and when a star collapses, there's a very intense energy. Things have been crumbling since 1987 in a very subtle way. They're designed to start crumbling for the last 10%. And also the last 10% is when we see core aspects of what that cross means. We see them get pushed really heavy. And because we're in a time where fear is the background motivation and fear is the first color motivation, you know, between the tribal cross we're in right now and a background motivation that's a 1, we see a lot of fear. It is also natural that fear is a very heavy thing that we're going to feel, with that being the motivation. You know, if you are feeling fear, that is the programming motivation. Now, fear motivation is not just like be afraid. Fear motivation is dig in. It's very, 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 very foundational. It's very information driven. Now, unfortunately, some of the not self aspects of this, we see very, very, very heavy fundamentalism. Very heavy fundamentalism. And it's a really kind of scary thing on the planet right now. It's very fear-based, and yet it's not going to last. That's one of the things that I really want to emphasize, is there's this fear background that's prepping us for 2027. And yet when 2027 happens, the motivation is going to retrograde into innocence. It's going to retrograde into a 6th color. The fear goes away. The fear goes away. Now, you were probably thinking, like, that you're still kind of afraid because you don't know. And yet, human design is here. Human design came in 1987 so that we could use the internet to spread it as far as we could, so that we could fill receptive people's memories with the information, so that when things start to crumble, we still have access to the information. And access to the information is simply to help us get through this time. It's to help you understand that you actually don't have to be afraid of what's coming, as long as you follow strategy and authority. You know, talking about the future can be very, very abstract, and yet it all comes back to me. It doesn't matter what's happening out there. It all comes back to me. Can I trust myself? Can I follow my own authority? When things start to fall apart and everybody tries to tell me what I should do and what's best for me, can I follow my authority? Can I wait to engage with things according to my strategy? Because if I can do that, I got nothing to be afraid of. I'm going to thrive. I'm going to be very successful. My time is here. time preparing for it.